How are you? What are you navigating this week, Raven?
Girl, we've been on this call for 5 hours first. What am I navigating this week? What am I navigating? My faith this week is the thing that I'm navigating personally. I'm navigating my faith this week because I've come to some conclusions about the way that I'm treating Jesus in this phase of my life. And I recognize that it's not fair. And subsequently, I feel because I'm in seminary right now, I've also have felt like a lot of things he's done to me or inflicted onto me has not been fair. And I've been really coming to grips with that in some really problematic but helpful ways, because who better to lament to than God, right? Anyway, so that's what I'm navigating this week. I'm really trying to figure out how to not be mad at God and also love him better.
That's true.
All good though.
That's true.
How about you? What are you navigating?
I'm in Seattle right now for a conference training on culturally specific programming for sexual assault. And what I'm navigating is something that like became relevant to my mind, is that like the thing about culturally specific programming and the thing also about sexual assault is oftentimes when people are sexually assaulted, sometimes they just don't want to be around the person, or sometimes they just want the abuse to stop, right? So that also means that the people who have been assaulted are going to be in community with the people who have harmed them. So it's been like really blowing my mind, because we've basically been talking about how to, what is it called? Restorative justice. We basically been talking about restorative justice without saying restorative justice. Like, how do we stay in community with people who have harmed us? And then like how big that is, like beyond just sexual assault, like how often we are in community with people who have harmed us. And then what does that look like beyond just, because sometimes it just looks like sweeping it on the rug. But in reality, it's just actually, you can just acknowledge that you hurt me so that we can move on. But sometimes people can't even do the acknowledgement of the I hurt you part. So that's just kind of what I'm dealing with right now, is like kind of thinking through, what does restorative justice look like? What does restoration and community look like? What does community look like after harm? So that's kind of what I'm navigating at this moment. Yeah.
Y'all hear her? She big money. I don't think y'all understand who we dealing with. Like
Stop
a
it.
real life
Stop
professional.
it.
Go
Stop
ahead.
it. Quit it.
What were you
It
about to
was a
say?
free trip. Oh, I was about to ask our audience
Big
what we was
money.
navigating. I mean, what they were navigating. Big money. Big
Okay. Well,
mama.
before you do, let me wet when I call it. I've officially entered the age where I'd be like, ma'am, that's not. Go home, Granny. Go home. No, but what I was about to say right before you close out, or right before we ask you guys what you're navigating, what I was thinking, the first thing that came to my mind is something I tell my clients, which is you can have what is it? Reconciliation without restoration. So I've reconciled it. I've come to peace. We can come to peace with it, but also that doesn't mean that we have to restore whatever we had previously or prior to the grievance or whatever. And so anyway, that's what that made me think about. But anyway, y'all, she big money, y'all. I just don't want you to understand what I'm saying. But now, audience, well, okay, your turn. What are you navigating? And I want you to think through this as you hear our intro song. Cue it up.
I hope everyone is navigating or able to navigate through whatever they are needing to process this week as we move away from our What Are You Navigating segment. Now we want to give space for the nuance. We want to talk through social issues that impact Black women. So, Raven, what is on the agenda this week?
Ooh, Chile. Well, this week, this was an impromptu week, guys. I want you to understand, because we were planning on doing something completely different. And then Jonathan Majors happened this week. And when I say happened, I essentially mean he reemerged. And if you're not deeply engulfed in the cultural zeitgeist like I am, unfortunately, luckily for you, you didn't have to be forced to see the chaos storm that was him and all of his media antics this week. So let me catch you up really quick and then we'll have discussion and then we'll get to the nuance. So essentially, about a year ago, not even a year ago at this point, but just about, let's go ahead and round it up. About a year ago, he got caught in the public sphere essentially with allegations of abuse toward his girlfriend, and it came out to be actually true because throughout the he went to trial with her. Like it was a whole thing. I'm sure you saw all the media storm around it. And if you haven't, I'll pause here so you can go and actually look up the specifics of it. Because right now, this isn't the journalism segment. This is solely so that we can talk through an issue that this has arisen and is so prevalent with Black women. Anyway, so, in the past year, he's dealt with some DV allegations, and some came out to be true with him going to court with his previous girlfriend. And if you know anything about the case, during the time he had admitted to it via text messages with her, like while they were in trial, some text messages came out that he'd sent to her post a night of him abusing her essentially. And some of the messages read, actually, for the sake of just to be safe on this one, I will just look this one up. Give me one sec. Okay, here it is. You ready? So here goes just a few of them that were completely incriminating and all I needed to hear, but apparently people wanted to continue to hear more information so as to prove his innocence. Even if I'm not saying he isn't necessarily worthy of reconciliation or restoration or anything. Well, I'm jumping ahead of the gun. All I'm just saying is people were still debating about whether or not he'd done it. I'm like, no, maybe we can debate what needs to happen afterwards, but baby, he did it. So anyway, this was just one of the messages that was the smoking gun, no pun intended. She says, the girl, his ex said, I will not go to the doctor if you don't feel safe with me doing so or don't trust me. I promise I would never mention you, but I understand your fear. And they redacted some of this. Actually, let me find the other one because I want to make sure I give. This message was essentially talking about how she was like, I'm in pain. The ones that I'm trying to find. She was like, I'm in pain. My head is hurting, blah, blah, blah. I need to go. And he was like, oh, you got to be my court. You got to stand solid. You got to stand 10 toes down. That was essentially the essence of what he was getting at with her, begging her not to go to the doctor after a night of abuse from him. So all of that to say, that was all of the proof that I needed that he was abusive. And then all of the women that came out subsequently after her that kind of alluded to the fact that, he had patterns like this. I think one of his professors came out essentially saying, that's the guy that we remember. So anyway, saying that to say, that's the crux of why we're here. Now, the reason I presented it was because he was on the Breakfast Club this week. And while on the Breakfast Club this week, he was reflecting on his new movie that's about to come out. Not even a year after all of this mayhem happened with his ex-girlfriend. And they essentially welcomed him with open arms, with little to no regard to anything that happened in the previous year. It was all the tenor and essence of their conversation was essentially, okay, you a cool dude. Oh my gosh, I'm glad that you came up here. I see. Jess Hilarious specifically said, right now I'm just trying to give the facts to be fair. She specifically said, as he was continuing to talk throughout the conversation, I see, now I get the Coretta thing. I get it. I get it now. I can see why you use that word. And so I brought it to the conversation because I want to have a conversation about what is it, the intersection that Black women have to exist in, that intersection being between being Black and what comes with being Black is such a beautiful ethic of love and forgiveness and mercy, something that I feel like is so keen and unique to us. So that's one side of the street. And then the other side of the street that Black women have to exist on or navigate through is being female. And what often happens is because we have this ethic of restoration, reconciliation, and mercy and forgiveness so keen to our Black existence, we so often have to disregard the things that happen to us by virtue of us being female: assault, abuse, disrespect, oppression, all of the myriad of things that women go through just by virtue of having vaginas. And so having to toggle between those two spaces, that's a really, really hard thing. And I have some thoughts, but I'm going to be quiet now. Those are the facts. That's why I presented it and wanted to talk about it today. Morgan, what say you?
So while you were talking, what I wanted to kind of bring to this is that I'm really not here to debate if he did it or not. What I would like to bring to the table is how Megan Good and Coretta Scott King have been used, and how we bring Black women into conversation, and how Black women are used to be tools for reconciliation for the Black community. So, and how that's my first point. And then how we
Mhm.
also bring black women, allegedly, this man has abused a woman, how we are okay with the fact that this black woman who is beloved in our community is now the scapegoat, is now the tool, like I said, the tool of reconciliation. Like how we are okay with her being in his home. We are okay with them now being married, and he allegedly, right, has saw all this healing. He has said he saw all this healing. He even said, like, I went through 13 years of acting training, and I had this trainer, and I had this and this and this and that. So I realized when I was down bad, and I had to like recover from what happened, what he did. He also needed a pastor, he needed a therapist, he needed this and he needed this. And we was talking about this offline. Raven was like, ain't no way you did all this healing plus made a movie in a year. Like, so those are my two things: how we use black women as a tool for reconciliation for the black community, and then how we are okay with allowing this black woman to be in a space, to be in a marriage with a man who is and this is not the conversation to say like he can't be healed, he cannot reconcile, he cannot be welcomed back into the community. Because like I was saying at the beginning, as black people, we've been talking about this all week at this conference, as black people and Latina people, oftentimes we do not turn our people, male or female, over to the hands of the police because we don't want additional harm happening with the systems that are very white, very very already against us, right? So we try to handle things in-house, which is okay if we have the tools to do so. The problem I have is that I don't know if within a year, not even in a year, they was together before they was together right after this case broke. So this woman has journeyed with him, and no, I don't even I no.
So let's take that piece by piece. Let's talk about them piece by piece because I think all of those things are important. Okay, professional Raven coming out for 2 seconds as a therapist. You want to know something that I often see, particularly for male clients actually, but what I often see is that because men are so solution oriented, when they do come to therapy, oftentimes when men come into therapy, they're coming because the problem has snowballed into something they literally can't control, nor do they have the language to articulate because men just aren't as everybody is feelings oriented. Hear me good. But I'm about to say feelings oriented. But when I say that in the context of a man, what I specifically mean is that when they feel things, their orientation and natural inclination is to go straight to something tangible that they can solve it with or create a solution, some tangible solution that they can physically create so that they can now absolve themselves of those feelings. And so they feel it, but their response to feelings are just vastly different from ours. Okay, that's important because so then what happens in therapy is they'll come and be like, they've come because it's like they about to freak out because they're like, I don't know how to handle this. All I know is my little hands-on solutions ain't working. I can't just go buy a car out of this one. I can't just go have sex my way out of this one. So they'll come to therapy like, hey, they said this is good. What's up? Okay. And then guess what? For the first time in many of their lives, this is their first time going through the catharsis that is talking about feelings. Girls, we know it. We know it when you cry and you just feel so much better because there are, I think it's like, what is it, 13 different, 8 or 13, I'm blanking right now, different chemicals that are released and there are like 8 different cries essentially. And like different chemicals are released via different kind of a cries there are. So anyway, this is their first time experiencing the relief of those chemicals in a safe space many times. This is general to be fair. I'm getting to the point, I promise. And so anyway, what happens then is they feel that feeling for the first time. And we know what it feels like when you cry after a good, sad thing or something happens. You feel all good. But imagine that's being your first time doing that, or at least your first time in a long time. And in a safe space with somebody who's loving and soft and caring and who genuinely has no bias against you except to see you healed. Men come into therapy under these pretenses and are like, whew, thank you, Raven. I feel so much better. All right, that was good. And usually that's about 2 or 3 sessions. Yeah, 2 or 3. Men usually stay for about 3. And then they'll be like, thanks, Ray. All righty. And then they go out into the world and are like, cool, I'm ready. I can go get married now. I can go do all the things. But the mistake that they often make, here's the way that I'm correlating it back to Jonathan. Baby, you just felt for the first time in a long time. You just connected pain and now relief or a pain and the relief of articulating pain for the first time in a long time, or for many people, for the first time ever. And so now you feel catharsis because you've made some connections, or we've made some connections together. That's okay. Day one. You know what I'm like I'd be like, that's not the journey. That's the start of the journey, Puka Butt. Like, and so
Right.
what I think Jonathan Majors has done, and this is the first thing to what you were saying, what I think he's done is, you started the journey, Puka. Yeah, daddy abused mommy, and now, oh my God, I'm glad I know that. Okay, now what does it look like
Right.
to now actually learn skills, learn how to harness those connections that you've made and be like, oh, that's connected to the feelings that I feel when she makes me mad. So here's the things that I'll do, like the skills and the tools and how to actually implement it when you hot or mad in a moment and that fist start to rise and you ready to punch her again. That takes time. That's not happening in a year. So when Morgan says you just can't do that in a year, I promise you, you can't do that in a year. Okay, that's the first. Yeah.
So, well, you said you can't do it in a year. I just echoed you. Anywho, so um, the so what I heard when you were saying that is also like, okay, so he got this court appointed therapy. He cried, and then it's like, as men being solution oriented creatures, it's kind of like, okay, I'm fine, I'm fixed, I can go get back into my relationship, I'm fine, I'm fixed, I need to rebrand. And how do you rebrand? Is to go get another woman, and specifically a black woman, because you made that dumb ass comment about Coretta Scott King. Okay.
Can we talk? No, that's so good. Can we talk about too? We can pivot from the Coretta Scott the King for a second. Like you said it actually in the beginning, black women are always used as receptacles for healing and as ego boosters.
Yep.
Jonathan Majors, his healing journey was all oriented. That first year, that healing, and this is for anybody, truly, I'm telling you, as a therapist, I see this all the time. That first year, when you've been into some sinister stuff like beating on people and that kind of stuff, that first year is about you, about reputation,
Right.
about not losing people, about not losing things. And imagine on his scale, Mr. Marvel Man, Mr. All of the things. That first year, not even about the people you harmed. And how can you know what's in people's hearts, Raven? How can you? He took his ex-girlfriend to court. He countersued. He choked her out, admittedly, on audio, on text. We have all these admissions, and I don't give a hell about that video of her running after him. How many people have been in a toxic relationship and have done toxic things? With my toxic ex-boyfriend, I used to literally like pull the steering wheel when we would get mad. I was like 18. It was stupid while he was driving, but toxicity breeds toxicity. And so you miss me with all of the, oh, she was chasing after him, she was crazy too. She was crazy because she was with a dude that was beating on her. But guess what? That's the reality of abuse. Sometimes it will drive you mad and it'll drive you crazy, and you have to get back to your present self and your present mind, and it's a difficult thing to do. So I don't care about that video. But the point is, all of this era that he's in and has been in this last year, still creating movies, pursuing another woman, still countersuing the woman that he literally beat on, that's all ego. That's all ego. That's not healing. He's trying to, matter of fact, he's trying to prevent the healing from hurting. Because when he's made it all about himself, healing is going to have to hurt. Healing is loss of money. Healing is loss of relationship. Sometimes it's all of those things, because you gotta pour alcohol in the wound in order to purge it of its nastiness. And guess what? It burns like hell. So yeah, sorry.
I'm just going. I was. I was also going to say, we're not saying nothing new, because this is something that's been said, I feel like, on social media, where it's like, I mean, we're saying new things, but this part in particular, well, we're not saying like he ran back to a black woman. Black men do that all the time. He ran back to a black woman. He wanted some healing. But thinking about that first year, this wasn't even a whole year that he went straight to making good. Say this was just a regular breakup. You should have took some time to grieve that relationship, to take some time to yourself, to figure out, oh, what do I like about the process, right? If this was a regular breakup, and this was not a regular breakup, this was a breakup that ended in public eye. It was a relationship that ended with abuse one towards another, however you want to look at it. And just also thinking about if she was also abusing him as well. That is a known fact in abusive relationships, that oftentimes the women, if we're looking at the binary male women relationship, or we just look at abuser victim relationship, the victim also can also be arrested because they retaliated, and the retaliation is still a crime, but they were retaliating against their abuser. So I want to also bring that in as well. But my thing is,
Yeah.
he jumped too fast into a relationship, like you said. He didn't have time to process and heal. And you putting this woman, a black woman, into a relationship. And it's like also how often this happens with just regular black women. That man just got out of a relationship and you back in you he in a back he's back in a relationship. He ain't processed, he ain't healed, he ain't grieved, he ain't did nothing. Shoot, I might be talking to myself actually. But anywho, like we did like you have to give some space to breathe. Like
Yeah, you're so right. And I just thought about it too. Let's also give some space too. Two things. We're not talking about this because it's salacious pop culture thing, because like we said in that first episode, this is not a gossip channel or a gossip podcast, and it's not any of that. It's not a hot topics podcast. This so
right.
happens to be one of the hotter topics this week, but it was relevant to black women and the quality of our lives. So that's why we're bringing this up. That's
Mm-hmm.
one. But secondly, though, can we also give space? While you were talking, I was looking at some of the messages because I was trying to find some that maybe would have been more relevant for me to read with him and his ex-girlfriend that kind of like verified his abuse. And even in some of them, I saw some of her messages around basically how he would gaslight her and emotionally abuse her via waking up and not saying anything to her, or just being, being cold and mean spirited throughout the house. Oftentimes in relationships, I won't even gender specific on this one. Oftentimes in relationships, abuse isn't always, I know could feel redundant, but we have to reiterate it. Abuse isn't always putting your hands on somebody. There is
Exactly.
what's called emotional abuse. If you know that
Mm-hmm.
this person has an anxious attachment style towards you, healthy or unhealthy, whatever, if you know that this person experiences pain when you ignore them or are mean to them, and you ramp that up because you weaponize that so that you can irritate them, so that you can essentially lord yourself over them, that's abusive. It's mean
Right.
spirited and it's evil. It's toxic. And when I was looking at some of the messages, she was like, "You woke up this morning and didn't even say anything. You walked out the house without saying anything about me. Like, do you hate me?" All of this stuff. Again, codependent but we can't judge. We all been there. We literally have all been there. And so the point is, it's just so many layers to abuse in this situation and beyond. So when it rises to the level of physical abuse and everybody's sitting there with their fingers crossed twiddling like, well, he did this and she did this and that, it's disgusting. And I'm just tired of the gaslighting about it. So I can pivot that to the actual center of why we brought this up, right, which is the Breakfast Club.
So I think you also you said it though. You said like, okay, one, we're not. This is not a gossip thing, right? How is this relevant to Black women?
Okay, that's good.
It's the tool. It's the tool. Even them joking about, oh, I understand, or not even just hilarious was not joking when she said that. She was dead serious.
She
She
definitely
understood.
was
She
not.
was like,
She definitely was
I
not.
understood the Coretta thing. You understood that this black woman, this black man was needing another black woman as a tool to get out of the situation that he is in. He needed somebody who also was in a situation. Like using Coretta Scott King, like who, if we go back to the 1940s, 50s, 60s, probably did not have a right to do half the things we do right now. So yeah, she gonna sit down and she gonna hold it down for her husband, right? So you cannot use Coretta Scott King as somebody who held it down. We don't also bring also in the nuances of him being a minister. You don't know the situation of like, and then the allegedly cheating on this woman. So like all of that as well, like holding it down. So she, again, another black woman who quote unquote held it down, was just biting all the abuse or the mistreatment that was happening by another black man. So for him to even evoke that imagery, that of using Coretta Scott King as something he needed. Yeah, you needed a black woman because black women are always here to bail black men out. And then what happens? He gets a black woman. And then it begs me the question of why and how does it, and what is going on that I'm about to call her Meg Thee Stallion again. Megan Good is in this situation with this black man and okay with it. And where is her people at? Where are her people that say, why are you with this man? Because no, like forget the fact that the man was, no, we're not going to forget the man, the alleged abuse. The abuse, we're going to keep that in this conversation. If my friend is with a man who we just heard through the grapevine was beating on his woman, I don't care if she was white, black, Asian. Why are you with him? And that quickly, again, the man didn't change. So when we thinking about this in the and taking it into a broader context beyond just beyond just Jonathan Majors, we're talking about how Black women are used as a tool for rescuing, for reconciliation. I could probably think of another word, but that right now is what I got in my head, is rescuing Black men out of situations and trying to reconcile the community, and as a tool to do that. The main point being a tool, an object.
Yep. We are trash trucks. We go around. Well, people treat us this way anyway. Come pick up everybody's trash, like, okay, let me clean that off, let me get that, and take it to the dump. In our corners of isolations, where do trash?
Mammies.
There we go. We coming up with stuff that's already been exactly, mammy. Everybody's sucking up.
We take care of it. We take care of it.
And so all of that, and so as we reflect back on the Breakfast Club, these beautiful Black sisters, beautiful Black queens, Monique said, don't have the wherewithal, the politic and the range enough to be able to see the depth and this. It ain't even that deep, actually. This is an age-old trope that you don't got to be educated at all to understand. Every Black girl on the planet understand this complexity. Well, you know what? I won't say understand it. They felt it, because I was just about to say.
They feel it, because that's...
Yeah, they feel it, because the comments
feel it, because...
Go ahead.
Yeah, Jess Hilarious even saying, now I get the Coretta Scott King, she might not be able to articulate what we just said, but she feels it.
Morgan, yes, that's good. You just, right, that's it. Because, you know why? Because that ethic, hold on, baby, you just hit it. That ethic is so ingrained in us of like, stand by my man. It's cultural messaging. It's historical conditioning. And to be fair, I do think there's some epigenetics in there. I do think we're oriented toward forgiveness in a way, because we're Sun people. We come from the place where literally Jesus was born and the gospel was oriented. Like, so I think there is a lot in there that might be reaching, but I don't care. I'm spiritual like that. But anyway, so saying that to say, yeah, you so right. That's deep, Morgan. She felt that in that moment, everything that Black women are so oriented and conditioned into. And so when you hear this Black man, here it is. You hear this Black man who's speaking good, and he got an accent, and he got muscles, and he got strong Afrocentric feet. They don't work on Black women. Black women who got Afrocentric features are thrown away. But if a Black man got a nose and he looks strong and brute and dark skin, he is the future. He is what's going to save the Black community, even though 78, or I think it's 80% of all the murders and stuff are committed by men. But the Black man is the one that's going to make us feel good and to save us and do all of the things, even though we're the one disproportionately more educated, make them. But so in that moment, I'm done. In that moment, he's sitting there talking about, all this therapy talk, because, that's where the culture is right now. And she's talking
I get it.
I get it. What you getting, Bubba?
You get just how many times, like, we've looked at our fathers, we looked at our brothers, our male cousins, our nephews, and been like, oh, come lay in my chest, because
that's it.
Our bosom is the place of healing for the Black America. Like, that's it. That's all. He ain't do nothing that his daddy, his mama, our cousins, you know what I'm saying? He ain't did nothing. We ain't did all, like, he just came and laid in the bosom. That was all.
That's it. And so back to the original question. You just articulated the intersection perfectly. The bosom, the Black bosom, it makes me emotional because it's so real, because the Black bosom is filled with mercy and love and grace and resilience in a way that nobody else can articulate, because nobody has our story. And that's beautiful. Mm-hmm. And so, of course, they come and just trample on it. You got forgiveness in your bosom? Let me just come and just...
Bro, it do it for you forsaking us, and to run back to us when you need healing. I think that, going back to the conversation we had, going back to the conversation of resting preferences, that is why that is such a slap in the face. Sometimes when Black men go to white women, and they also denigrate Black women at the same time for the sake of going to that white woman. When you're slapping us in the face, and at the end of the day, we will still let you rest in our bosom, whether that bosom be your mama, whether that bosom be your sister, your cousin. Again, go to do your thing, right? Do your thing. If that's your preference, if that's your choice, don't shame us, don't denigrate us, don't put us down, because at the end of the day, you know we are going to welcome you back with open arms. To the extent, going back to that same conversation, that young man who he is literally being protected by his black women and his family in death to make sure that the tweets, the TikToks, all the things are shut down, so that so that his legacy is not denigrating black women, when that is what he did in life.
You're right. I saw that actually after we finished. I kind of kept reading and looking into it. And yeah, his family, his sisters and mom or whatever is like trying so hard to screw up his image. And you know what? No shame to those black women. But the principle is definitely there though. Everything you're saying, principally, we are so oriented around protection of our people. Couple thoughts there as you said that. And I actually am done after this for real. First thing is, I hope I remember both of them. First thing is, black women, this intersection that I was talking about earlier is actually so much deeper than I realized until this moment, because first thing is, as a woman, generally speaking, heteronormative context, actually not even, no, I take that back. I think biologically it's okay to say this because I don't think it speaks to sexuality in any way. Women are inclined towards
Nurture.
nurture, thank you. Nurturing and love and people oriented. Men are interested in things oftentimes and women are interested in people. And so anyway, that's such a pre-Eden, just like our makeup. Again, when I say pre-Eden, for the context audience, I'm Christian, obviously, so I believe in Eden and post-Eden, all that. So anyway, the way that we were designed in creation is such that it's a beautiful thing to be a woman, in that we are nurturing, we're loving, and we have this essence about us that wants to invite people in, wants to do all of the things that we just referenced. And so anyway, and how much that's been perverted because of sociological factors like, oppression and all of the negative things we've gone through. And then because black men were a part of that oppression too, they just kind of furthered it. And so now it's like, you're right, I'm really just furthering everything that we've already said, but it just hit me in a specific way. I'm like, dang, our lip makeup is being perverted. Like, people are like using our makeup and abusing our makeup in literal perverse ways. And so that's the first part. But then the second part that I was thinking about is how much it's natural for us to want to protect our family. Like, it's okay for us to want to protect. That's actually a good thing. That man looks like me, and that's my baby's dad. That's my dad. That's my brother. I should want to protect them. And man, it makes me emotional. I'm not playing, because when I tell you that pisses me off, because we will ride to the death. We will ride to the death. And then, and wait, final. And then, so they'll do all of that, perverse it. We'll be this way. They'll perverse it and clown us. And then when they're broken, okay, so I just wanted to say, and they'll do it in our faces. And we just little sheep. And we got to, because if we don't take it, then again, somehow again, we still the problem.
We still gonna be some bees. Like, we still gonna be some bees. Like, we still the problem.
We will
So
fuck
audience,
queens.
man, audience, think in your life and figure out how we can decenter men, because this is what we mean by decentering men. I love men. I love men. I love men. I love
We're
black
both
men.
partnered. We are
And
both partnered. I
however,
just want to keep saying that. Yes, go ahead.
however, comma, we have to get to a point where we cannot continue to take abuse. And if we are going to be in community with these men, and men, if you're going to be in community with us as black women, it is going to take you some unlearning and some education, so that you know how you are hurting us and harming us, and how to love us and care for us the way we love and care for you as well. And I say that again to say I love men and I want to be in community with black men. Girl, we was walking down the street in Seattle today. And Seattle is if you've never been to Seattle, it's on the West Coast. Cool, it's a very progressive town. The only black men I really have seen is like somebody that works at the hotel, two people at this conference. But I saw a nigga today, like, and the man had locks. You could tell his locks did not get done in Seattle. He had on some out. I think they was, what are they, Alexander McQueen shoes, I think that's what they was. He had on some skinny jeans, smoking his blunt with his little his little glasses with the little gold on the side. Like, I was like, that's a nigga. Let's ask him where to get the Chinese food. Turned out the man been living in DC for 12 years. I said, see, that's why he don't look like he from Seattle. I love black people. I love black men. Like, I know my people. I love my people, and I want to be in community with my people. But I also need our black men to listen to when we say that is harmful to us, that hurts us, and you cannot continue to do that. So say that you love us.
Outline the that so people are clear. What is the that?
You cannot spit in our face. You cannot say forget you have a preference. If you want to date other races, do that. And I guess it does speak to the conversation we had about race and preferences. If you want to date other women, that are not black, do not put us down in order to lift them up. Date who you want to date, and cool, be in community with us. That's fine. I don't care. I don't think majority of black women care that black men date other women. It's just, don't put us down. And then two, when it don't work out over there, don't run over to us for salvation. Do your healing. Do not use us as your trial. Do not use us as the time that we can be the healers for you. No, do your own healing, then come to us if that's what you want. But do not use us as the tool for healing. The tool is therapy. The tool is prayer. The tool is going and making peace with your people. Like, if you even look at a AAA, a Narcotic Anonymous or Alcoholic Anonymous framework. The tools are bowing and allowing yourself to know that you are smaller than God, allowing yourself to go back and make amends with all the people that you have harmed. Those are the tools. Black women are not the tools. So if you want to be in community with us, you do not do that. You do not use us as the tool of healing. You go get the healing, and then you come back and you be in community with us.
That's a word. Black women are not the tools. We're your sisters. Because I know this is the thing. I know we always frame this in the context of romantic relationships because that's oftentimes where it begins to matter. Like, that always is the premise of conversation, because that's often where we are able to at least see on a more macro level or intentional level the flaws between our views about sex and race, right? In the black community specifically. But like, low key, the same discrepancies and inequities exist within the households, and that's why they show up in our relationships once we get to the spaces where we're able to date. Because how we expect more of our daughters, but our sons are just kind of able to, I mean, like, we know all the tropes. Black girls get harsher treatment than the family, or more higher expectations rather. Because I know, and obviously everybody's family context is different. I get it. But generally speaking, the tropes often are that black boys simply get a pass internally because externally, meaning out in the world is often historically has been evil to them. But what happens is, no, baby, the world's been evil to both of us. It's just black men because of like hierarchies of gender and all of the things from long before all of us were born. It just kind of has been set that way. Because of the hierarchies of gender, we just place more emphasis and prioritization on boys and the harm that's been caused and inflicted onto them. But it's been harmful equally. The world, has been equally harmful to both of us. And so we're not the tools, we are sisters. Going back to that. Even if you don't see me as a romantic partner, that's fine. But can you see me as a sister? And in case you treat your sister poorly too,
right?
Can you see me as an equal human being who has equal value to you?
Our history as black people, we've always been objects. So it is hard to unlearn that we are not, even within our own bodies, that we are not objects. So it's going to take some unlearning, which is okay, because we have to also look at our black men not as objects. Like, they're not just quote unquote providers. That's not all we need you all for. We need you for the emotional portion of who you are. We need you for the spiritual person that you are. Yeah, it's going to take some reconnecting of the body and the spirit back to, like, for us to realize that these bodies are connected to souls versus, like, that's just a black woman. Like, I can just go to her when I need saving. No, because at the end of the day, she still hurts if you do her harm, and he still hurts if you do him harm. So just thinking about that in that context is that while we have historically always been tools in this America, we are no longer tools. we no longer have to accept that we have been used as tools and are continuing to be used as tools by tools by white America, by white people, whatever. We can rebel by the way we can rebel against white America, against racism, against sexism, is actually connecting ourselves back to each other, connecting our body and our mind back to each other. I feel like I'm making sense.
No, that makes perfect sense because, and that really starts with, this might have to really be another episode because I watched, something came up on my algorithm the other day about how generational wealth is a farce or a myth for Black families. And anyway,
I was literally thinking about that. We got to talk about that.
Yeah, we'll have to do another episode about that for sure because I think that is worthy of a whole conversation. Maybe that could be like a part 2 to this because the starting place to exactly what you were just getting at, Morgan, is detaching. So the problem is, you said this a few weeks ago, I think when I was out there with you, how if we started here, we came here as objects, like you just said, we came here as objects, and they literally debated in the Supreme Court in St. Louis, actually, whether Dred Scott was a human. They debated for days on end a Black man's literal humanity, and they came out to the conclusion that he was only 3/5. So he petitioned for his freedom, and it rose all the way to the Supreme Court, and he was denied because they were like, technically you were brought here as only cargo. Technically, we can't really grant you human rights. They debated the humanity of a human being and still came out to he's not a human. And that was only, let me see, 1800, was that 100 years ago? 100 plus years ago? And so if you think that the implications and the ramifications of a country that only 100 years ago decided via a court, via the smart people who made it to the Supreme Court said, you're not, I'm sorry, animal. Like, what's...
Literally.
If you think that those implications don't play out in how we engage, how we see each other, how we see ourselves, you may think that you all that because you got the Louis bag, but I promise you there are internalized insecurities that you've taken in by virtue of that being your legacy. 100 years ago, somebody said, you're not a human, sorry. So anyway, all that to say, you're not wrong at all. You have to just, what it will start is what the healing process or the restoration process, meaning the restoration of Black male to Black woman, will look like, it needs to look like, is a detachment. It's so funny because I almost sound like a Pan-Africanist. This is what they be saying, but now I get it now that I'm like, whoa, talk now. It's a detachment from American capital, all the nonsense, and not because, it's America's so bad. It wasn't ours. And so we try to create something or orient ourselves to something that literally started off with saying, I'm so sorry, but per the document, you're not a human. Anyway, so yeah, you're not wrong.
And if that's what they want to do, let them do what they want to do. But that is not going to work for us. And we will talk. Maybe that will be next week's conversation. It's just we cannot live the way they live and survive and thrive. Yeah, and I feel compelled to say, if you are a Black man and you've made it this far in this episode, I just really want you to, I feel like we got a little angry in this, and that's fine. Anger is a valid emotion, and I don't want you to think that anger towards Jonathan McReynolds is directed.
Who?
Jonathan Majors is directed to anybody other than the system.
I'm gonna create a thumbnail with both of their pictures on it. Victim or victimizer.
I want like Jonathan.
Now, how I get in it?
Now, why am I in it? And you could have did it. See?
Major, right? Jonathan Majors. The anger is the conversation is about Jonathan Majors. The anger is really directed towards the systems and the racism and the sexism and all the other isms that has put us in these situations, pitting us against each other, causing us to think of each other as tools, etc., etc. You notice I'm using the word us because while this conversation started off with saying that Black women are used as tools, men have been just as objectified. And I want to acknowledge that.
That's so good. Nothing after that. That was a perfect segue. That's a perfect segue. Let's get to the book suggestions.
What's your research or suggestion for the week?
Well,
I don't have one actually.
I don't actually. I did because this one was an impromptu one. But hold on, give me one sec. No, I got one. Oh, I don't know why I didn't. Duh. Sister Citizen Shame. I can't think of the subtitle right now. Maybe I'll find it. But it's called Sister Citizen Shame. Sister Citizen Shame by Melissa Harris Perry.
I didn't know that shame was a part
Literally
of that.
Literally one of my favorite books of all time.
Yeah, I didn't know shame was a part of that. I can hear you.
I think it is. I think it is. It should be. Hold on. Let me see.
I thought it was called Sister Citizen.
Sister, I think it is, child. Don't give me the line, but I think it is though. Yep, Oh, no. It's Sister Citizen. Shame, Stereotypes, and Black Women in America. So shame is like in the subtitle. I'm like, girl, you know, for years I've been saying Sister Citizen Shame. That's hilarious. Because I read that book. I read that book my sophomore year. I read that thing twice. It was so good. That was when I had time to read books twice, child. But I read that book my sophomore year of college. Oh my God, changed my life. You know, one of the books that you like literally can't put down. Oh, that's how that one was for me. But anyway, yeah, the reason I say that is because in lieu of everything that we just talked about, I know what Morgan was saying previously, how this conversation can easily get lost in the malaise of like, oh, another Black woman just mad about stuff and just screaming to the rooftop about a Black man and mad about a Black man. And I don't want it to sound like that. It is righteous indignation, righteous anger, definitely justifiable anger. Not that our anger needs to be justified, nevertheless.
Right.
But there is context for this stuff. There is context for why we're so frustrated. And anyway, Melissa Harris Perry goes into all of the reasons why we talked about this with such rage and such frustration, and how Black women have really been, you hear me say it all the time, thrust into a crooked room and been told to stand up straight. Meanwhile, the room is crooked. And so she talks about why she's a brilliant Black woman, and she lays it out pretty well. So if you're interested and want to know more, or if you just want to learn, because reading is fundamental, you should get it.
Okay, our next segment is what the girl's saying. A little fun. Since this is our first episode post actually posting an actual episode, like, y'all know what I'm trying to say. Like, this is episode like 5, but this is actually episode...
Like
okay, so it's episode 5, but we've just now posted episodes 1 and 2. So we've gotten some feedback. And so what are the girls saying on your end? And yeah, we'll do that this week.
Yeah, so the girls will be saying, the girls on this week in reflections from episode 1 and 2, I've heard really good feedback, honestly. I wish I had some things to actually read, but I've verbally or audibly talked to people. And I've heard all good feedback really quick. When you said fun, it's so funny because Chuck was like he said it like twice this week, and he was like, and the fun part, I was like, the fact that stuck with you, but we said that when we were preparing you for it. Like, anyway, so the fact that it like stood out to him, I feel like now we need to say it like every episode, because he was like, that was so cute or something, but he said it twice this week. I just thought that was really cute. But anyway, so all good feedback though. And my sister actually said how it made her think about stuff that she wouldn't think about, but is excited to think about. You know what I mean? And I was like, that's exactly what we wanted. That was where the whole premise of nuance comes from, which is like, let me tell you the things that probably aren't necessarily on your mind, but probably should be, especially in the context of Black women. So, yeah.
Yeah. I got some feedback from my sister and my cousin. My sister, they both said it was good. My sister said we talk too fast, but she was also like, am I listening too slow? Say it again.
I said, this is true. Thank you, sis. Thank you.
She was like, I could be listening slow. And then my cousin was like, oh man, I wish Maddie could have heard this. Her daughter my cousin DeLorean has a daughter who is, I think, in 8th grade. And she didn't know, this was the cutest thing, Raven. I guess she was listening into the car with her daughter on in practice or whatever, or on their way home or whatever, and she didn't know it was me. And she's like, I wish I had it on video when I told her there was Morgan, because she said her face lit up. I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, I do it for the kids. Like, yeah. So that was like really cute. I was like, oh, like not be being famous to my cousins. Yeah.
I love that. No, that is so sweet. No, that makes me excited. And in that same vein, guys, if you haven't followed us on Instagram, also follow us on Instagram, What's on the Agenda Pod. We really want to hear from you guys, and we want to know what y'all are saying. And who knows, you might be featured on the show one day, because we're starting some really, really cool things in the coming weeks. And so, Agendees.
Wink, wink.
Wink, wink. Let's see how that goes. We want to hear from you guys, truly. So this week, first of all, follow us, and be looking out because we'll be throwing out some surprise polls. We'll be throwing out some surprise questionnaires. And black girls, reach out. See, let's talk. Tell me what's up, sis. Tell us what you liked about this episode too. We just kind of want to genuinely connect. So, yes.
Yeah, I'm so excited. I'm looking forward. I'm about to post something probably right now or tomorrow as I look out on our first IG poll. It's gonna be like until we catch up with the stuff. It's gonna be just so funny talking in past tense and present tense at the same time. It might not actually catch up, but anywho.
You know what's up.
So, yeah, our next segment is just simply asking, why does this matter? Let's talk from the heart, to the heart, and from the heart.
Yeah. Well, on my end, I think all this mattered because Black women, oh my God, this was similar to the last episode too, but I'm glad that we're starting off with such a strong premise and ethic of what we both stand for and believe in. And that is simply that Black women are deserving of love and love beyond just a reciprocal love and love beyond just the giving of it. And I think we're so oriented to just giving it. And I think Jess's comment to Jonathan Majors this week, I see why you did, Coretta. Lift your chest up, lift your chin up, baby. What they say, fix your crown, sis. Stop it. Respectfully. It's no qualms against her specifically, but that was just such a microcosm of how we engage with Black men and how Black men get to engage with us and why they feel so free to treat us that way. And so anyway, fix your crown, sis. And this is proverbially to all of you guys too. Everybody listening. It matters because we don't deserve to be trash receptacles. We're not the mammy. We're not nursing people's babies back to health. Meanwhile, we're literally depleting all the nutrients that exist within us and don't even have enough for our own families, for our own selves. We're done with that. And if you're not done with that, hear me good. Let's get on the journey to being done with that because you're deserving of more. It doesn't mean that you have to relinquish care of your loved ones. You are oriented to love and nurturing by nature, by virtue of who you are, and that's beautiful. It don't even mean that we have to stop loving Black men or anything, none of that. You don't have to try and go so against the grain just because you're mad. No, if that's what you're oriented towards, do that. All I'm just saying is prioritize yourself, and in the ways that you haven't seen you prioritizing yourself, and only prioritizing that ethic that you feel towards forgiveness without even thinking about you first and what's good for you. That's where we need to pause, pump the brakes for a second, and reassess. So that's why this mattered. How about you, Morgan? What's on your heart?
I think what's on my heart and why this matters to me is just simply the idea of community, and that again we cannot afford to not be in community with one another. Like it or not, we gotta figure it out. But no, like seriously, like we have to figure out how to do community that works for us. And in reality, community only works for white people don't do community. So like we actually need to figure out how to do community without the influences of white systems of capitalism and other isms. I'm tired, so I don't really have all the isms in my head, but y'all know what I'm saying. Like the point is that we need to figure out how to be in community with each other, and it's going to take a lot of unlearning and relearning how to value each other, and unlearning how we have devalued each other because of the said systems that I've named throughout this episode, or in past episodes. So that's why it matters. We just gotta I desire to be in community with Black men. I desire to be in community with healed people. So we just gotta figure that out. And that's why it matters to me, is that we just have to figure out how to value each other and stop objectifying each other.
Okay. Well, I think that was a wonderful episode. Guys, we want to hear from you. Again, what's on the agenda pod? Actually, I think it's what's on the agenda pod everywhere.
Except for TikTok, because our account somehow has violated all the community guidelines without posting anything. And our account is permanently suspended. And I can't recover the account, and I can't make a new account because we have an account, but it's permanently suspended. So I might have to just make another account with a personal email or something because, yeah. But what's on the agenda pod everywhere except TikTok.
Okay, awesome. We'll get some sleep, ma'ams. And bye, audience. Love you. Talk to you later.
See you next week.